Heidi ho, YouTubers. Today I'm going to continue to ruin Weedies Guitar Studio's Jackson headstock. Watch it. Or not. It's up to you.
Yay!
Hey everybody, what's going on? Eric here. I've got my Coke. I've got my 220 grit sandpaper. Now, this is the acrylic that I was using to kind of keep the headstock flat on both sides. Also works great as a sanding block because it's nice and flat. Now, this is not flexible at all. If I need something a little bit flexible, I'll just use a little eraser. It's nice and flat as well. So it's time to make a little bit of dust, I guess. So what I've been doing here is I've got this 220 grit sandpaper. Now, this stuff here, I'll get a bigger piece where you can see what it is the no slip grip, and it's supposed to last a little bit longer, but you know, you're sanding, it does last longer, but you have to make sure you clean the grit a little bit, otherwise it gets clogged and shit. But this is the max grip, and what it has is a kind of like a rubber coating on the back of it, just very, very thin, and it works great for keeping shit from sliding on surfaces, like if you're using a block. I've been sanding on this thing a little bit, and as you can see, the headstock no longer has a gloss to it. And yeah, there was a little bit of a high spot right here, not much, but you can kind of see where it's sanded away. Bring you up close, sanded away the finish. I want to sand away all of the finish. I want to clean this thing completely off and sand this down a little bit. I got a little bit of glue over here that I got to sand out. There's a little trick that I'm going to do to fix the little crack, the split that's in between the two pieces of binding, and that consists of a little bit of acetone, a little bit of binding material, and yeah, so I'm going to end up doing that. So let me have a sip of my Coke. Cheers. I'm going to start sanding this thing. I'm going to get this thing leveled out over here, nice and smooth, like get rid of all this glue that's over here that's sticking up. This is all really nice. I mean, this came out really, really good. So I'm gonna go ahead and start sanding this and try to get rid of this glue that's over here. Now you can't sit in one spot too long. You want to make sure you get the whole thing. Now there is a curve over here. It's sharp edged here, and it's curved over here, and I want to keep that curve. I don't want to lose these sharp edges, but definitely want to get rid of this glue that's over here. Now, if the sandpaper seems like it's taking too long, got other resources for getting rid of this bump over here with the glue. And that'll consist of a razor blade. Just scrape it down a little bit. Because when you finish something, like if I was going to paint this, this would show. I don't want it to show, even though I'm not painting it. So it's starting to thin out a little bit. Alright, got rid of that. Now I want to go over it with the sandpaper. Make sure this is nice and flat. Now I don't want to make this edge too sharp, nor do I want to make the top of the binding too sharp as well. Man, this is nice. It's real nice. Now I did notice the tip of the headstock had almost broken off from all this, so I ended up putting some of the CA glue on there, and I want to kind of like scrape off the glue because there's a little bit of a bump there. Make this tip again. See if I can shave it just a little bit, bring it down. Yeah, that's helping out. And I'll go over it with the sandpaper using the flat side of the sandpaper. You want to keep this flat. That's better. Much better. Now, like I said, I'm going to clear this whole thing, so I'm going to end up sanding this whole headstock. So actually, I'll be sanding the whole neck. Alright, that's good. So again, on this side here, this has got a curve to it, so I want to follow that curve. Now, I made this kind of a little bit too sharp, so I'm going to round that off. Just ever so slightly, not breaking the binding. Something I don't want to do. Alright, so let's see the top of this thing here. Not bad, this sandpaper is pretty good for not clogging. I kind of want to go and lock my finger on this thing and start sanding this thing down until I start seeing wood everywhere. They use lacquer on here. I could smell it as I'm sanding this. I could smell the lacquer. Now, if this wasn't flat, like perfectly flat even, if I were to sand this down, you would see shiny in the middle over here. Kind of like this is a little bit of a high spot over here. It's very subtle of a high spot. Didn't even hardly even notice it. But on the back of it, there is no high spot over here. This is fucking completely flush. So I don't know why this came up a little bit higher over here, but it's not going to be like that anymore. And by sanding this down the way I'm sanding it down, this crack over here is in the finish, and you could feel it. After I get rid of the finish that's on here, you won't feel that anymore. It'll be gone. And once I hit it with a little bit of primer on top of here, and once I sand out the primer, you won't even notice that there would be a crack there at all. So I'll continue to make a mess. Now I'm adding pressure while I'm sanding this over here, and it's not moving. This clear coat that's on here is pretty fucking thick. And you can see there were some high spots right here. And this is the side that I didn't do anything on. This is the part that got glued. This isn't. Now I could put some scratch filler inside of here and then go ahead and sand that smooth, feather it out, and you know, clear or spray to black, leave all this on here. I'm not going to, because I don't want this to kind of, this may come back because of the finish on there. Not in the wood, but on the finish part. And I don't want to do that. I don't want it to come back. And if you don't know the term feathering it out, wow, look at the dust floating around. If you don't know the term feathering it out, see the edges over here? The way it's kind of like feathered going into the wood, that's what they call feathering. So when you're sanding and you hear that term feathering, that's exactly what it means. You do that with the auto body when you're doing body and fender work. Now I'm using 220 grit sandpaper. They should be cutting this pretty fast. It's kind of not. Trying to put pressure on both sides of the headstock at the same time, not favoring one side or the other. Now this over here kind of looks like a wood sealer they put on here before they painted it. I don't think I have to sand through that. I could probably leave that on. Alright, I'm going to stop right there. Clean up some of my mess over here. Alright, I am not done by any means, okay? But I notice there's a chip right here where the tuning peg is, and I can kind of, in certain spots, like right here, I can stick my finger nail inside the crack, not over here too much. What I'm going to do is I'm going to fill that, and I'm going to fill that with the CA glue. I'm going to use the thicker CA glue to fill it. Make sure there's no dust or anything inside there. See, this I don't feel, there's nothing over here. My nail doesn't stick in there, but it does right there. So what I'm going to do is I got the thicker CA glue, and I'm going to kind of drop it in a little bit in that area. And get the CA glue to come out. There you go. And I'm going to drop it all down this seam, and I'm going to scrape it, and then I'm going to sand it. That'll fill this in real nice. Alright, so I got the CA glue on there. You hit it with a little bit of the activator. Let that set up really good. So that's it for now. So Weedy, yeah, we're getting this thing going over here for you, and hopefully, like I said, in a few weeks you have it back. be rocking out again on your Jackson. Take it easy, have fun. Later, guys.